Welcome back to Eve. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to be a man. That's right, only men multi-box. If you're sort of beta energy sort of person, you're probably going to rage at the fact that people multi-box. And if you're that sort of person, then this video isn't for you. Sorry if I've offended you, but you're a beta male, so obviously you're easily offendable. But there we go. So we've set the video content nice and clear. I'm going to show you how to be a man and multi-box in eveonline. Now, you don't need to do this across 14 characters. You could actually do this across 2 and get double the benefit from just playing with one character. So I'm going to recommend you do this, and I'm just going to walk you through the steps because the most common thing I get asked is, like, honestly, how are you so amazing? But the second thing I get asked is pretty much, how are you doing that? How are you controlling so many ships in one go? And I'll show you because, to be honest with you, an awful lot of it is just pretty much juggling. And if you understand the concept of juggling, you're only really kind of watching one or two things at the time. Everything else is kind of in motion. Okay, so that's how this video is going to work. I'm going to show you in potato mode because honestly, you can't run 14 accounts on one computer without literally having an amazing graphics card. I have not got a particularly amazing graphics card. It's a 3090. It's pretty good. Don't get me wrong, it's pretty good, but it's certainly not at the kind of echelon of upper level whatever graphics cards. So I'm going to show you the step-by-step process. So let's start. Let's go down to our kind of corp list here. So we have all the characters that we're going to put in the gang. First thing to do is just invite them all to the gang. Form fleet width. So you click that and every single character now has an invite, or at least it should do. And so if I just scroll through, so you see here we have yes, so we just click yes, yes, and we just go through. And we go and do every single one. So there's no broadcasting or anything like that because that is completely illegal. You mustn't do that. You will get banned and they will see you doing it and they will ban you. So please don't even be tempted to try it. Back in the good old days when basically I was multi-boxing way back, I think things like that existed. But again, I didn't really use it myself because I never actually did much like I'm doing now in Fleet. I had 14 characters just spread across the universe with freighters and making things and God knows what. So it's only really recently since I've nicely retired in my EVE game, where I am in my care community home of Karama and I'm basically running missions in between trips to the buffet and the toilet. So there we go. So we're in a gang. The next thing to do is probably set up your gang properly. Now again, you don't have to do this. I just find that it's easier to do it because there are certain things, as my phone goes off, that I kind of want to do. So I always put Lucas as wing commander and I always put Captain Azeroth as the squad commander. You do this just because there are times when you want the fleet commander to go somewhere different and you want to kind of subordinate the control of the gang to these. And there's a reason we do that. And we'll show that as we kind of progress. The next thing to do, which is absolutely critical, is create the watch list. So you just go to any character, create the watch list, and that appears here. Once you've set your window positions, they'll be there forever. So just do this once. And then all I do is just select everyone, drag, drop, boom. Nice and simple. Now, this is where hotkeys come in. So if I go to my hotkeys, we have some important hotkeys such as exit station. So did you know that you can set up a button to exit you out of the station? Well, there you go, you can. So all I've got here is the tilde key, which is basically the one next to the 1 key. That works quite nicely. There are other things, so things like reload. In fact, there's a few actually, but we'll talk them as we go through. But there's a few that I kind of have set up. Things like reload, control R, things like that. They're important because you want to quickly process them as you go. Also, some of the windows, so things like ship fitting, for example, you could look for it here on the menu, or you could set it as a hotkey. Boom, there we go. So we have our hotkey ready to go. So next step is quite a simple one. You just undock everyone. So again, the process here is we go undock, undock. You have to make sure you're not in the, there we go, undock. It's not as elegant as I would like it to be because I'm in this window. You see the fleet window kind of defaults. You have to click away from that to get the tilde key to understand it's not trying to type something. Once you've done it, it's done. Oh my goodness, that didn't even work, did it? There we go. Oh, no, tilde. It's going swimmingly, isn't it? So I think that's all the characters undocked. Oh my goodness, look at the conga line. Looks very sweet, doesn't it? I love the skin that I got for the Halloween thingy-me-doobry. So I won't run a mission because I think it's just, you haven't got time for that. So let's just show you what you now do. So you can see this is an important window for you. This is where you see, firstly, if your ships are there, which is most important. You need to see your ships are basically in space with you, because there will be times in warp where certain ships aren't with you and you don't want to do certain commands until they all are. I will explain. So if I now do something like, let's just run to a safe spot. So you do warp fleet, the whole fleet warps. I don't have to do anything. The fleet will just basically go, and you can see they'll all bugger off into the distance. And they'll do the Starship Enterprise sort of blue blib. You know that thing there? Plop, plop, plop. You know what I mean? Anyway, if you don't, never mind. Watch the Star Trek, The Next Generation. No other Star Trek exists beyond the timeline of The Next Generation. I have decreed it so. As you can see, everything's warped. Now, again, little thing I do here is I zoom out. So just go from account and I just mouse wheel out. So I'm just mouse wheeling. That's all I'm doing. And it's just because it just helps the computer a little bit. Poor little processor, little graphics card. And you can keep kind of the main fleet commander sort of zoomed in. That sort of helps. But you don't really need to do any of the others. So they're just really kind of there. I did read you can actually black screen some of these as well, but I don't know how you do that and I've never bothered trying. So we are now on grid. We've gone to our acceleration gate. We're now going to jump through. The first thing you do, the very, very first thing you do is when all of your ships are present, you right click on the fleet commander and you do regroup. That is probably the single most important command you will issue. And you'll see all of the ships will just approach you and orbit you. Now that's it. That's how I'm able to control however many ships I have. So if I start to move now, so I'm just going to put my micro warp drive on. Eventually it starts moving. You'll see they'll follow me. So they'll basically start to move with me. Now, again, you probably do want to think about, do you have to put their micro warp drives or afterburners on? But we won't worry about that now. So that's pretty much the first part of it. The second part of it, and this is where the fitting really comes in. So let's just pick any Tengu. Pick a Tengu, any Tengu. And on this particular one, let's just open up the fitting screen. Now, this is not the most efficient way to do it. It's just the way I do it, because it's just easy. You'll see here I have my missile groups, and they're split into two different groups. So if I just show there, we have one missile launcher set to normal missiles, and that's actually running, I think it's Scourge, I think it's just basic Scourge, and then the majority, so the other 5, are then loaded with auto targeting. The reason this works, and this is something, again, it took a bit of trial and error, and I would welcome comments on this, is when you attack something, you can't just, you warp into a boat, you can't just click, this, because it'll say there's no suitable targets in range. So, there's nothing to shoot. But if you put some aggression onto them, it then makes them a viable target. And that's all you basically do. So you go from one character to the other, you just literally go F1, and then you lock onto the target, and etc. That's how it kind of works. And then once you've got literally one missile fired at that enemy, the auto target missiles are then like, okay, I get what you're trying to do. I will go after that target as well. I don't know why it works. It just does. So a bit like the Fifth Element, remember that gun that literally they fire one shot and then all the other shots kind of loop around. That's kind of how all of these Tengus operate, which is pretty cool. What that then means is you can just go from Tengu to Tengu and just go F1, F1 target lock, F1 target lock. Remember, when you press that, it's ready to go. So you just click it and then you go the next one. So in fact, why don't we do a live fire demonstration of this? So let's just say we're going to attack Lucas here. We get one missile onto him, whoosh, and then we now can literally leave that running. But if I now click this, you see the auto fire will now see him as a target. And that's it. That's how it works. Oh, we better put his tank on. Oh yeah, don't forget your tank. There you go. Good start, right? So probably the most important thing to do after every single warp in to a new system is to set your tank running. And that's it. So that becomes kind of the process. You basically do that across all these characters. And if I wish to, I could then select, let's do that again. So we'll select Lucas again. You see on this next character. And once you've got used to it, it is easy, I promise you. So then one missile away, and now we press auto fire missiles, they all attack Lucas. So poor Lucas, he's going to get blown up if I don't stop. And that's it basically. And once you've done that, across all the characters, they're just orbiting you. In fact, where am I going? Let me just turn around. Wow, I left my micro warp drive on. What an idiot. And I think that's it. So that's kind of the process, is you just guide them round. They're like angry drones swarming around you, basically attacking everything around. I always run one ship, which is a tractor beam. So always do that. So I actually have a scanning tractor beam Tengu here. And again, if you're interested in the fit, I don't know how I share that because I'm an idiot. No, do I just drag it? Oh goodness me, what have they done with this? So let me try this. Bing, there we go. So if you're interested, that's the fit. Not particularly anything special, so I just leave that on screen for a sec. That's probably the only difference. Everything else is run the other way. So it's run basically, I'll just show you what I mean as well. So let me just open up this. So this is, oh no, bad example. These are low skill characters. So let me just bring up a proper Tech 2 one. So Team Tengu 2024. So let me just open that on this dude. Does that work? Yes, there we go. So you could pause the screen if you so wish, but that's basically the fit. It's not particularly expensive, not particularly difficult. It does work, and I've got to admit, running missions in this is like a joy. It's the easiest thing I've ever done. Now, admittedly, it's because it's only level 4s and I'm running them with Tengus, but you don't have to run them with this. I mean, you know, part of the fun of the game is seeing what you can do. So one of the things I'm trying to figure out at the moment is skilling them into thoraxes. Well, thorax, for those that don't know, was one of the very first mining ships. It literally was the OG ship for doing things like mining. So I'm quite excited about doing a drone setup of this, because, you know, while this obviously works very well with auto fire missiles, the best way to do it, I think, is still drones. And think about that. So you would have like 14 or however many ships assigning drones to a single ship. So in this case, the fleet commander, and then that fleet commander directs that angry swarm of bees all around the map, killing everything in their sight. And that's probably the next step here. The auto fire missile, I think, is a great way to do it, but I think it does become it becomes a bit sort of easy, to be honest with you. And I would say actually multiboxing absolutely is all about, it's a skill. So once you've got the skill, you get better at it and you start to really learn what more you could do with it. So I would recommend it. I think one of the nicest things about multiboxing generally is that the game becomes a very different game entirely. So if you imagine running, you know, things solo, then imagine just having a support ship with you, a scanning ship, even a shield repairing ship, or for example. So really the limitation is only what you decide or decree it to be. And I think we have to accept that multiboxing is here to stay. It ain't going anywhere. So I think you have to kind of either adopt it or just say, well, you know, I can't do it. And if you can't, and believe me, anyone can do this. If I can do it, a bumbling idiot, I guarantee you can do it. So do give it a go. That's probably it. So in terms of combat, that's where you go. I don't bother salvaging things, but again, you could run a salvage ship, I guess. One of the things to bear in mind is that so let's just make sure our aggression's ended. Yep. So if we do something like, we can gang warp. So if we do warp fleet to the Ikari gate, what you can do is preload the jump command. And let me show you how you do that. So you just literally press D, and I'm holding D, and I click Ikari, and I go to the next gate. D, D, D. Everyone loves the D, and that's it basically. You see how you see kind of how it works. You just basically scroll D. Oh, no, you have to be careful here, because you've got to, if you're in warp, you might actually click the wrong gate. So bear that in mind. So let's jump. Let's do jump again. Again, it takes a while, but you get really polished at it. Because I'm yammering while I do this, I'm probably less efficient. I probably would say this is something I can do quite quickly. So here we go. So we have our fleet landing. And again, we watch our little overview here. So you see we have our little grid of dudes. Let's just make sure they all jump through. And you'll see the gate animation kind of flick and move. Even potato mode is sad, but that's the choice you make. See, there we go. So everything's jumped. You can see literally everything jumped, except this dude. Why didn't he jump? So let's just jump him. And then there he goes. And then on the other side of the gate, let's say we're warping to a mission objective, for example. So let's just say we're doing that now. So we go right click, and then we wait for to make sure everyone's in the system. That's a good start. Warp fleet, see everything decloaked, everything is now in progress. So again, what we do is we now go through and do our hotkeys. So we do activate tank, activate tank, activate tank, activate tank, activate tank, activate tank. And you see it's relatively straightforward. Now you do miss them, so because you're obviously pressing 2 keys at the same time, you've got to be careful here. So what I do is then just scroll all the way back through them just to make sure the tank's on. And I can see that the tank is on all of them. I usually don't use the golem, I'm only in it because I'm about to go and do the Winter Wonderland thing. But you see that's worked, so everything is now pretty much good to go. And again, things like gang links, things like that, you can pop them when you need to. And that's it. So we then arrive at our location, and then remember, we do regroup. So everything then orbits you. And if you so wish, you then would go F1, target, and if you need to, you can actually do F3 as well. So you actually start. So just to go you through the process, I would go F1, next account, F1, next account, F1. And when I say that, you then target something. And as it's locking, you move to the next account, F1, target something, move to the next account, blah, 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 all the way through. And then by the time you got to the last one, you come back, you're then ready to go through again and press F2. So now we press F2, 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 F2. And you just go through the process. So it is juggling. You're not really paying attention to an awful lot of what's going on. There have been times when I've run a mission and I've not realised that a Tengu has been left in another system completely on a gate on its own because I've just not noticed. And this is why these little kind of preview windows are quite important. But this watch list is by far the most important. You will see very clearly when something is not with you. So let's head back to station. So again, same process. We have our gates. We know where we're going. So we would just right click, warp fleet. Everything then aligns and warps, and we don't have to do anything there. Again, we'll just watch that because it's quite pretty. Off they go. And I think I do like that. I get a real kick out of that. I think auto fire missiles do make life very easy. I think the whole combat piece, I mean, there's a reason they've never done Tech 2 auto fire missiles, right? Because people know this is a bit overpowered. Because I mean, for PvP, they're utterly useless. Utterly useless. If I'm attacked and somebody tries to gank me, none of my fleet can save me. So, you know, it's like life. There's no golden bullet or silver bullet here. There's no guaranteed way to do this. Again, I've been lax. I should have been preloading that jump command, so I haven't done it. So if I just scroll now, I'm going to go Kurama, jump, 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 jump. You know, it takes a bit of time. You get used to it. Eventually you're doing it and you're not really noticing that it's actually 14 bloody clicks, but there we go, it's worked. And then what we do, so this is where again I would be going in to hand a mission in, for example. So I would actually go to my agent's dock. So we're just going to warp CO Pyrex away. This is where the subordinate comes in. So Lucas is now ready to basically take over the gang warps. This is useful because you could have only sort of half of the gang running missions. And again, just to be clear, I don't just do one mission. I could have, quite honestly, 10 missions on the go that you do in one go. So you just go mission to mission to mission, then come back and hand them all in. So you want the ability to warp to the agent station, anybody who has to hand in the gang. Because my station's different that I live in, you then, you know, you need a way to do that. So we have Lucas here and he can then just do a gang warp to our staging point, our insta dock. So in this case, he's done that, and so all of our gang here will go to home. And then, you know, in this case, the Pyrex would hand in the mission and then fly back to the station. So it all works. It's kind of a nice polished way of doing it. And I imagine quite a lot of people have watched this video and you literally want to curb stomp me to death because you don't like multiboxing. I am sorry. I mean, I don't play this game to annoy people. I mean, I should be clear, I'm not rinsing and making billions doing missions in any way. I do it literally just to have a bit of fun. To me, the challenge in the game is now learning to multi-box in a more efficient way. I am excited to do more things, so I can't wait to run a fleet of thoraxes, because that's going to be funny, right? All the drones and the nonsense. I mean, we'll have some losses, but thoraxes are so cheap, you literally might as well just YOLO them into a level 4 anyway. So, you know, it's a bit of a swings and roundabouts thing, but there we go. And then that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. I mean, if any questions, please let me know, but hopefully that shows you the key things to bear in mind. Regroup command, keeping an eye on your watch list, that's absolutely critical. And I think really just making sure that you fit the ships so that they can be independent. So in this case, every ship has an independent tank. You don't need to share logistical support. You have then everything set the same way. So again, if you press F1, it's the same thing across all the accounts. That's obviously an obvious one, right? And then things like auto-fire missiles just make the whole process basically simple, because you just basically have to make sure that they reload, and that's it. That's the only thing you have to monitor, is when they fired 40 missiles, whatever it is, you then just have to make sure that it reloads, and you then press F2 again, and that's it. It's quite simple. So give it a go. If you've got 2 accounts, try it. If you haven't, why not just see if you can get an Amiga and give it a go and see how you get on. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.
You